All right, we are returning to assignment 3. So I'm going to shortcut from the home page to assignment 3 under assignments. Scroll down. And I'll see assignment 3. But before I go into it, where I post, I can also see that there's a digital honors mentorship presentation on exactly what we're going to be learning what to do. So why do we do mentorship presentations in this class? It's because it's good to get a different viewpoint on what we're learning. So this is a past student that's gone through the class just like you are now and has decided to build their skills even more in a second semester. And one of the components to that is they have to share how they would teach something that they learned. So using Photopea along with this new site, which is called easygif.com maker. That site looks like this. It's pretty straightforward. They are going to talk you through how to turn your rough storyboard sketch into an animatic. And basically how it works with these programs. So the first thing is, you're going to take your rough storyboard sketch and you're going to crop it to a standard format. They use 8 by 8 inches by 72 pixels per inch. Why 72 pixels per inch? Yes, because it is standard minimum screen resolution. We are going to do something similar with our assignment. We're going to make it 8 by 8 inches by 100 pixels per inch, just because it's a little bit extra big, right? Which works nicely for when we print it as a refined storyboard. So you have this pixel grid. It's important that it's a square because you have to animate to the format that you're going to present it in. And we're designing this to be social media presented, just a basic kind of Instagram post. So we're using a square. We're doing it at good enough resolution so it will work on tablets, squares, computer screens. And before you build any assets, you want to make sure you have the right pixel dimensions. Next, they are going to bring in folders. This is how they choose to do it, to organize. Animation is all about organization. Knowing what your plan is, that's what your storyboard sketch is about, and then what are the assets, the components you need to be able to control to tell your story. So they just simply, on one of their layers, draw all 9 frames. But you could also scan it in. You could also photograph it, bring it in. So that's their rough storyboard sketch. And this does show a transformation. So you have this character, they're winding up, they punch something, the punch doesn't seem to do anything, so they back up, and then the transformation happens, and they use like a mutant power to like just blow it away. So that's where the transformation is happening. In your 9 frames, you can check your sketch. You want to make sure that that transformation is really obvious, right? Whether it comes towards the middle or towards the end. This GIF animation is not a place for subtlety. Right? So after you have your 9 keyframes, this is how you would turn it into an animatic, basically an animated storyboard. You have to make each frame fit within your overall format. So they separate each of their 9 frames, duplicate it into its own layer, and then stretch that to fit the format, right? Once they've done that, they have 9 separate layers in their folder. So then they are going to export each of these layers as its own JPEG. And they're going to label them, as they say here, 1 through 9. So you have 9 different pictures. You label the first one 1, second one 2, third one 3, and so on. Then you take those 9 JPEGs and you take them into easygif.com maker. And you upload those images. When you upload them, they will come in order. And why it's nice to use GIF Maker is because you can make sure that the order is correct. Whoops. And you can see they started numbering them in the corners. That was helpful, though they left off 1 for 2. And you can actually play with the playback speed. And they set theirs to 1500 milliseconds, which is actually quite slow. That is 1.5 seconds per frame. That's slower than I would do it. And then, this is how you use it. You're going to have to save in order to upload and make a GIF, right? And then you can download it and you can see it. And this is their 9-frame animation at 1.5 frames per second. No, where each frame lasts 1.5 seconds. So that's weird, because it's even over a second for each frame. 1,500 milliseconds. I'll usually run animatics at about 300 milliseconds, so 3 frames per second. But you get a sense from this, okay, yeah, the story is making some sense, right? Winds up, punches something, nothing really happens, steps back, and then blows it away. And then it restarts. So once you know that the animatic works, the keyframes work, then you work on the in-betweens. The way to smooth it out. So a 9-frame storyboard can turn into a 50-frame animation. Because this is at more like 5 frames per second. And you can see the transformation take place right there. All right. So you can refer back to that as kind of an alternative to what I'm going to be teaching you and demonstrating, using the same sites, the same freeware resources. So, going to the assignment. It's good to see so many storyboard sketches posted. I'm going to take mine and I'm just going to open it from my assignment 3 folder off to the side here. Keep it open in preview so I can always refer back to it. Then I'm going to make 2 folders within my assignment 3 folder. One of them I'm going to call assets, all in capitals. One of them I'm going to call stage. This is similar to the way that mentorship presentation did it, but they created folders within their layers within the file, which I think is kind of needlessly confusing. So assets and stage. I'm going to mark assets as green, because that's where we're going to start, and I'm going to mark stage as blue. Why green and blue? Because those are the 2 colors of our campus, and it means that they are equally important. Because we're actually going to have 2 Photoshop files for this. And I say Photoshop because they will be PSD, even though we do them in Photopea. One is going to be for our assets, one is going to be for our stage. So, how do we build it? Well, this was my first keyframe. And remember, you're required to use something you've already designed as some asset, so that you already have an asset built. So what I'm going to do is use my exercise 2 emoji. And I'm going to go ahead and open that with Photopea. But better than opening it from my exercise 2, this is important for all of you, I don't want to mess up my exercise 2. Because that file is finished. I might want to print that for my portfolio. And animating in its screen resolution is going to mess it up. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click on it, and I'm going to say duplicate. There's a bunch of different ways to do this, but this is pretty clear. Right-click on your PSD of your asset. It might be your setting. It might be your creature. It might be your emoji. It might be your line art jumble. It might be your proving ground. Right-click on the PSD and say duplicate. It will make a copy. Take that copy and move it into your assignment 3 folder. And then rename it. So the first thing to do is to know what of the things you've already made for the class, what are you going to use as part of your animation? I'm going to rename this Assignment 3 Assets. Okay. So I'll pause, help you guys. So in my Assignment 3 folder, I have my storyboard sketch, just really rough. I have an assets folder that's empty right now. I have a stage folder that's empty right now. And I have this duplicate of the previous assignment that I'm going to be using, right? Now I'm going to open that PSD up, or even if it's just a JPEG from a past project that you're using, I'm going to open it up in Photopea. So I open up Photopea, and then I drag and drop the PSD. What's so nice about my emoji PSD is that it has all these different layers. What's not so nice about it is that it's got all these different layers. So it's all about organization. Now, if I was doing an animation with my creature design or my landscape design, then it would be like a three-dimensional photorealistic kind of thing. And that's like having actors on a stage. Because I'm using my emoji, this is like paper dolls. All the little elements are cut out, right? But I'm going to have to spend some time cleaning this up and organizing what I want to animate and what I don't. Like what can be merged together. But before I do that, I need to match the format. So the first step is to turn this into a square that I like. So I'm going to go to Image, I'm going to go to Canvas Size, and I'm going to go to Inches under Canvas Size. And I see that right now it is 14 by 14 inches. I'm going to change that just for me to 12 by 12 inches so that it will crop on all sides just like that. And then I think I'm going to take some of these layers that are turned off and just erase them because I don't need those. So sometimes I have to unlock them before I erase them. Remember, this is on my duplicate. This is on my assignment 3 assets. This is not on my original PSD because I don't want to screw that up. And then I can delete these to clean it up. So I won't be animating with those. And then I can delete these. All right. So now all of my layers are making up the image I like. And I'm in a square. So what I'm going to do is select every single layer by holding down Shift and clicking on the top and then clicking on the bottom. And if you wondered what shape layers look like, they look like vectors. You can see all the blue paths around it. That's because each of these was a vector for my emoji project. Okay, now I'm going to hit Option Command T, and because they're smart objects, I can hold down Option and Shift, and it will grow and fill the space. And I can even distort it a little bit if I want to. And what I want to do is just grow it enough so it looks comfortable in that background. So this is my character. If you remember, I said we need 3 things for a story. You need character, setting, and the illusion of time passing. And I'm going to try to center it. Looks pretty centered. All right, so what I am missing here is a setting. And what kind of setting do I want for my emoji storyboard? I'm going to have these hands come in and play with the hat, but I just want a blank white background. I do not want empty space. For a variety of reasons, because I can always turn it into empty space later. But for now, what I want to do is to make a new layer, which is what we're going to call an asset in animation. And I'm just going to fill that behind everything with white. 100% white. Just like that. Okay, next. This is basically my first frame. Do you guys agree? For my sketch, my first frame just introduces the character on a blank background so that when the hands come in, it's kind of a nice surprise. So now this is what I do. I hold down Shift in Photopea and select every layer again.